So, good day everyone. You are listening to the voice of Rene Jude Rojorata, a member of the group Rebuilders. And this is the subject Reinforced Concrete or CE535D and subject code 3449, 7:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. under Engineer Dario Calake Jr. So, this is our design proposal. So, I will be covering part 1 and part 2 of the presentation. So part 1 talks about the architectural plans. So the first one I'm going to show you is the perspective. So as you can see, this is actually a hybrid of a condominium and also a commercial area. So the ground floor, well, you cannot see it right now because it is shown outside. The ground floor is practically for commercial purposes. So there are stores, there's a pharmacy, there's a gym, and etc. But when you reach the second, third, and fourth floor, this is all residential. This is a standard uh, condominium build of a structure. So talking about the location, this building, our proposed building, is located on Diversion Road, Talomo, Davao City. So as you can see this, the vicinity map, this is the site right here. This is the road, the Diversion Road on Davao City, and here's the General Douglas MacArthur Highway. So these are the nearby landmarks on the map. On the right side here is a zoomed in version of our condominium. So these are more specific landmarks that are near the lot area. So this is the site development plan. So as you can see, our lot area is actually somewhere between 2,000 square meter. We have a guardhouse here at the front and at the back. This right here is the driveway on the edges, and this is the parking area. These lines. This is supposedly a fountain, and this is the dedicated generator area. And this shaded part right here is our building. So moving on to the ground floor plan. So this is the floor there where it is serving the commercial needs of the people. So as you can see, there's a function hall, there's a restaurant, a coffee shop, some groceries, a laundry shop, a gym, a pharmacy, and a barber shop. As you can see in the design of our structure, it is actually a symmetrical. So the left side is built and is designed symmetrically to the right side. And this over here are the stairs. There are 4 stairs. And these 2 spaces are dedicated for the elevator. So for the second to fourth plan, this is the residential area. So there are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 rooms here, and there are also 10 rooms here since this structure is symmetrical. And this is the elevator. There are the stairs. So there are balcony. So this right here is a balcony. Right here. And there's also a balcony for the 5 adjacent rooms here. Here and here. So this is the same from the second to the third and to the fourth. That's why it is just uh, compiled into one sheet. Next is the roof deck plan. So as you can see, there is almost nothing here, except there's only the two space. These are the elevator shafts. So the elevator actually leads all the way up here. And as you can see, adjacent to the elevator wall are the water tanks. And now, as you can see, there are arrows that cuts a certain section of the building. Why is that? Well, that is for the cut sections that I'm going to show you in the next few pages. So for right now, I'm going to show you the elevation. So these are the stairs. These are the balcony. And on the rear elevation, you can see that these lines are actually the cables that support the elevator. We just put it there for aesthetic purposes. This is the right elevation and this is the left elevation. So this was the cut section that I was talking about earlier. So you can also call this the longitudinal section of the building. So as you can see, these are the contents of the interior supposedly on the floor. There are certain people that was put here as a design for design purposes. Next is the cross section. This is the section of the longer part of the building. So as you can see on the ground floor, this is purely for commercial purposes. As you can see right here in both edges, these are actually the gym. These are the restaurants. And these are just the lobby, an open space for people. And for the second, third floor, it's all the same because it is residential, it is a condominium. So that right there on the top, that is the elevator, the top of the elevator. And this right here are the water tanks. So right now, this is the schedule of doors and windows. So according to our design, we have 4 different door designs and 2 different window designs. So this is the part 2 of our presentation, which is about the structural analysis using the STAAD software. So 2.1, we will talk about the modeling of our STAAD. So this is the STAAD model that we've created. This is the isometric view to get a good view of all the structural members here. So this right here are the supports. If we only highlight the parts of the building where there is the support, well, there it is. The support is only one type, and this is a fixed support. Next, these are the materials that I've used. So I have created a custom 3000 psi reinforced concrete, and these right here are the following descriptions of the concrete that I've used. So now we will talk about the beam releases. So in the second floor right here, you can clearly see which beams I have put the beam releases. and you can see which end of that beam there is a release. So the beam release is denoted by the circle that is placed on the edge of a certain beam. So as you can see, there are beams right here where both ends of them I have placed a release. But there are also some where only one end has a release. And then for the third to fourth floor, it is practically the same. The same location of the beams and the same point of releases are placed for the second to fourth floor. So part 2.2 talks about the loadings that we've put in our STAAD model. So these are our primary loads. So there are 11. The first 4 are the seismic loads. So a seismic load for the positive x-axis, for the negative x-axis, for the positive z-axis, and for the negative z-axis. The fifth one are the dead loads, while the sixth are the live loads, but this one is for the entire structure, which means that in this particular section, all the possible slabs on the building have a force on them, have a live load. While on number 7 to number 10 are all live loads but are in a certain alternating pattern. I have labeled this as a checkered pattern. So there are 4. And for the 11th load, this one is a fluid load, which is generated from the water tanks that we have placed on the roof deck. So on the 11 primary loads, let us first talk about the dead loads. So the first dead load right here is the self-weight. So this self-weight is applied to all the structural members on the STAAD model. The second type of dead load is a superimposed dead load. This one are the slabs. So this is only placed from second to fourth floor. And then the next dead loads are the wall loads, which is from second floor to fourth floor. So these wall loads are concentrated on the beams where there is a wall that is hanging above it. So as you can see, this the intensity of the wall load, 7.656 kilonewton per meter. So the next are the dead loads, the wall loads that are dedicated at the roof deck. So as you can see in the arrows here, in the blue arrows, these are the beams, the edge of the roof deck, where there are a little bit of wall that is standing above it. And then lastly, the wall loads, but is solely based on the elevator shaft at the roof deck. As you can see, this 4 rectangle. And you can also see their corresponding intensity. This one is 6.8904 kilonewton per meter. So now that we're done with the dead loads, let us proceed to the live loads. So the first live loads I'm going to show you are the full version, where all the area of the building where there can possibly be a live load that can be placed. This is all considered. Now, as you can see on the table below, this is from NSCP 2015. This the reference that we've used in determining the pressure generated by the live load on that certain slab. So as you can see, for all the residential area, so for all those slabs that belong in the individual rooms in the tenants, so we are using 1.9 kilopascal pressure. And to the roof decks, we have assigned 1.9 kilopascal as a pressure also. And for the rest of the area, on the open spaces, on the lobbies, on the corridors, we will be using 4.8 kilopascal. So for example right here, this particular slab, this line, this is mainly on the corridor, on the public area. So we have assigned 4.8 kilopascal here. While on this group of slabs, these are all within the residential rooms. So we have only assigned 1.9 kilopascal here. As you can see, there are certain empty spaces. This right here, where the stairs are supposed to be, this is 4 spots. These 2 were for the elevator. And the 4 right here that are in the middle, this is actually a partition. This is actually a partition where it is covered by walls, and there is no slab here because technically no person can set foot in this area since it is enclosed with a concrete wall. So now this is the full live load, but as shown at the roof deck. As you can see, in these live loads, I've only used the top view so that it can be easily demonstrated. The 2 blank areas here are only for the elevator. The rest are all slabs that has an acting 1.9 kilopascal pressure, as stated from the NSCP. The next live loads that we're going to tackle are the checkered pattern. So it is fairly impossible for me to show you all the possible checkered pattern for all the possible floors. So we have only taken a certain group of floor so that we can just show you the comparison. So based on the design of our checkered pattern, every floor actually has an alternating pattern of loads on their slabs. So this one is for the 2nd floor and the 4th floor. The next one is the 3rd floor and the roof deck. So as you can see, for the first checkered pattern, this is what the pattern have shown. These were the loads were placed. For the second pattern, this, as you can see, they are in alternating locations. For the third pattern and for the 4th pattern. And lastly are the fluid loads, which is located at the roof deck, and it is generated from the water tank. So these 2 slabs right here are the slabs where the water tank is supposed to be placed. So the next that I'm going to talk to you about are the seismic loads. So this is the actual area of the site. We used Hazard Hunter as a reference. So this is what the coordinates have shown. And these are the hazard assessment report from the Hazard Hunter. So you can see that our site is approximately 1 kilometer from the Dakudao Fault. These are the rest of the assessments. Okay, now for the soil profile type. Now we used the Metro Davao earthquake model to reference the location of our site to the map that was in the earthquake model. And after a careful observation, we have concluded that our site is located on a Class B classification of soil. So these right here are the following values that we have taken from the UBC 1997. So our site is in a seismic zone 4, and this is the table taken from the UBC. And then the seismic importance factor is 1, since we classify our building as a special occupancy structure. Our seismic source is type A. And then these are our near source factors, NA and NV. And then just cross-referencing, since we have a seismic source type A, so we'll look here in the table, and since we are only 1 kilometer away from the closest fault, so we will use this part on the table. So NV is 2.0, NA is 1.5. And then in the seismic coefficient CA and CV, we will be getting our value based on the soil profile type. So since our soil profile type is B and our seismic zone is 4, so this is the value that we should be using for the CA and CV. So calculating that, it turns out to be 0.6 and 0.8 respectively. So now next is the selection of the earthquake force resisting structural systems. So since we will be using special reinforced concrete moment frames, so the response modification factor R is 8.5, and the amplification factor omega O is 2.8. And then for the value of our building period coefficient CT, since we use the reinforced concrete moment resisting frames and we are using SI units, so this is our coefficient 0.0731, and this is the formula of the building period. So using this formula, we can calculate our building period. By the way, H sub n is the actual height of the building above the base to the nth level, and we have counted that as 15.8 meters. So this, the building period, 0.579 seconds. And so next, we will do a manual solving for the base shear. So for the total design base shear, this is the formula. And these variables right here, we already have the values. For the W, the weight, I have calculated that the weight per floor sums up to be 84,483.56 kilonewton. So plugging that in to the formula, we have found out that our base shear here is 13,732.977 kilonewton. And now that's not yet the final answer. We still have many assessments to do. So the next that we will do is to solve for the minimum base shear. So this is the formula. And once again, we will plug in the variables that we already have. Thus, we get a result of 5,575.915 kilonewton. So the next is the minimum base shear on zone 4. Our answer is 6,361.115 kilonewton. And for the maximum base shear, it is 14,908.864 kilonewton. So in conclusion, since our calculated total design base shear actually falls between the range of the minimum base shear on zone 4 and the maximum base shear, therefore, this value governs. Now we are going to compare that to the base shear value that we got from our STAAD model. So according to our STAAD model, our base shear is actually 8,984.467 kilonewton. Now if we compare that to the one that we calculated, there is a difference of 4,748.51 kilonewton. And actually, since 8,984.467 falls inside the range of the minimum base shear on zone 4 and the maximum base shear that was calculated before, then this value is actually also valid. It's just that the value that we got from STAAD and the one that we manually solved is different, but they all fall inside the range of validity. So part 2.3 talks about load combinations. So as a disclaimer, since we have not included a wind load here, so we will not be using the load combinations that has the wind load in it or is denoted by the letter W. So the following here are the load combinations that we used in our STAAD model. And as you can see, I've pointed the arrows to where it corresponds from the NSCP 2015 load combination table. And then this the next batch. So part 2.4 is the analysis of the result of our STAAD model. So this is our analysis result. When we ran the analysis, there were 0 errors and 0 warnings, which is good. And then when we view the output file, we can see that I've actually placed 5 floor diaphragms. So 1 in each floor level. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 floor diaphragms all in all. And then in our soft story check in the output file, it has been concluded that there was no soft story detected here. So it is all good. So that concludes my portion of the report. Thank you for listening.
Hello and good day, everyone. We have just finished discussing everything about our STAAD design. This time we will discuss our design of beams. So to design our beams, first we go to post-processing after running our analysis and go to our beam results. Now to apply only our second floor beams, that's just labeling. We apply the group that we have assigned for that. And we go to beam results and summary. So to show you only our second floor beams there. So we have chosen our beam 416 because it has the maximum moment of all. So we choose the greatest moment there is in the summary. So we chose beam 416, and from that we have this data right here. We already copied the tabulated data from STAAD editor. It has automatically tabulated left, middle, and right maximum moments, as well as the left and right shears, and it has given us a summary here. So we just input the maximum moments for left, middle, and right over here. And it will automatically give us the data that we need for this beam. So we have a variety of options here, the diameters and how many numbers of bars. So in this beam, we chose to use 20 millimeter diameter bars. Seeing that it is okay and deemed satisfactory for the tension control, we then proceed to designing our spacing of stirrups. So it will automatically meet the conditions here, and we will use the spacing there, and so that is the spacing of our stirrups. It will give us the whole summary of the design of this beam for our second floor. The dimensions, the strength of the concrete, steel, number of bars, diameter of bars, the strength of our ties, and the spacings of our ties, our stirrups. Okay, and so we will now continue. We will repeat the same process. Now we go to our Okay, now we go to our third floor beams. And we will separate there our third floor beams. There. So we chose to analyze beam 1305. Now for our third floor beams, beam 1305, again we just got our information from SAD editor here, and it automatically tabulates the left, middle, and right moments, as well as the left and right shears. So below it will give us a summary of what moments we will use. All right. So here we just input our left, middle, and right maximum moments, and again it will automatically give us the data that we need. So in this case we chose to go with 32mm diameter bars. Seeing that it is okay and satisfactory for tension control, we proceed to design our stirrups. So this is the spacing that we use, and automatically this is the spacing for our stirrups. Therefore, it will give us this summary for beam 1305. And we will continue to our fourth floor beams. Okay, again to show you. Okay, so these are our fourth floor beams. There. All right, so we again apply the group that you have labeled, and we chose to go, yes, okay, there. So we chose to go with beam 1402. Now for that, you can see the tabulation of our data here. There. Okay, and it will automatically tabulate the maximum moments for the left, middle, and right, as well as the left and right shears. Now from this information given, we just apply it here. For the left, middle, and right, it will automatically give us the data that we need. So we chose to go with 36mm diameter bars for this beam. And seeing that it is okay and satisfactory for tension control, we proceed to design our stirrups. And it will automatically give us the spacing that we need. Therefore, this is the spacing of our stirrups. And we have reached a summary here of all the information that we need for beam 1402. Same goes for our roof deck beams. So just to show you everything, we select our fourth floor beams, or our roof deck beams rather. Okay, all right, there you have it. And we chose to analyze beam 1475. So as you can see again, it has tabulated all the maximum moments for the left, middle, and right, as well as the left and right shears. And we are presented with this information below, and we just easily input it here for our maximum left, middle, and right moments. It will give us this data. So we have chosen to go with 28mm diameter bars. Seeing that it is okay and satisfactory for tension control, we proceed to design our stirrups. So it has given us this spacing, so we use that, and these are the spacings for our stirrups here. Okay, so it will automatically give us the summary of the dimensions of the beams, the strength of our concrete, the strength of our steel, how many bars of steel we will use, the diameter of our bars, our stirrups, and the spacing of our stirrups. So that concludes how we design our beams. Thank you very much.
So, hi, good evening everyone. This is our stud model. So first, let us run the analysis, run the structure I mean, for us to know na wala siya error. So, kapit na siya. You should always run the structure before mag next process or sa may next yung nabuhaton. So, no errors, you have 0 warnings and 14 notes, so it's okay lang. Next, so for me, ang nakatask ako is mag-design sa column. First is, we need to tabulate. Ibanera naman natin siya. So, we can go to post-processing. Okay. Then, mag-go tayo sa results. Kung sa beam. Pero diri sa pagkuha na ko sa moment sa mga column. So, isa-isa na ako na siyang tanaw. First floor, second floor, third floor, roof deck, nga na gani. So, mo to nakabuhat ko tabulation gamit ang Excel. So, dahil kani siya for beam 186. Beam 186, 185, 186. So, ang iyahang MZ is 183.195. For MX, we have negative 3.22. And for MY, 13.706. So, so, kani LC is the load combination. Our distance for this is our FX, which is ang PU, then MY and Z. So, using Excel formula na diriam. So, nakagetag maximum PU, max PU, max MY, max MZ. Then, also, by Excel formula, nakagawa na to ani from sa beam 186. So, kani itong itong maximum PU. Then, mauni siya ang load combination na na-form. Yeah. So, ang load combination, nakakuha tawag load combination para makuha ang maximum PU and na-solve na daan siya sa stud. So, next beam is kani siya is for the first floor exterior. Next is same process lang yapon magpili tag beam 187. So, beam 187, We have the MZ na 181.624, MY 13.595, and MX negative 0.322. Then, so magtabulate na kita. Ganito siya ang distance, load combination, distance, Fx, Mx, Mz. So, maximum mga PU nakuha, maximum MX, maximum MZ. Then, using Excel formula, nakakuha na ito ani. Then, under sa beam 187. So, therefore, nakabuo ang load combination na kani sa pagkuha na natin sa maximum PU. Then, for exterior na siya. For interior naman, we have for beam 195, same process kaya po siya. We have our load combination here. The distance, Fx, My, Mz. Then, makuha natin ni siya. Then, under siya sa beam 195, naka-formulate og load combination na kani. Same as sa second floor exterior. As you can see. Then, second floor interior. Beam 447, naka-formulate ang load combination na kani, and we have our maximum PU na 621.11. For our third floor exterior naman is we have here. Then, for the third floor interior, nag-prevail is ang maximum PU na 729.33. Under sa beam 760, naka-formulate ang load combination na kani. Next is for fourth floor, the roof deck exterior. As you can see, same process lang gihapon siya. Then, naka-formulate og under sa beam 946, naka-formulate og 109.763 na maximum PU, then load combination na kami. And lastly, for the interior, under beam 956, nakakuha ta og maximum PU na 209.47. Then, we have a load combination of this. So, therefore, makakalculate na ta og, makadesign na ta og columns. So, we have magpili. So, sa pag-design sa column, magpili ito dito o unsay pinakadako na PU na nakuha. So, for first exterior column, we have 816.171 kilonewton na PU. FC prime, FC na to is 28 MPa, Fy 414 MPa. Then, for FYT is 275. Then for our fee is 0.65. Then concrete cover 15 mm. So, kuha na to na siya ang AG. Then, pag makuha na sa AG, ay nata. Then, so we get 329 mm. So, therefore, we will use 500 mm, assume na lang siya. Muna na siya pinakadako na assume na to. So, for first exterior, next is katong gihapon, magkuha gihapon ka o pinakadako na PU under sa first interior columns, then makasolve na dahil ka sa column. For C1 and C2, number of main bars. Next is exterior floor. Same process, pinakadako na PU. Then we have our concrete cover na 50. So, we can get the AG na 108,634 mm squared. Then, also, we will use the 500 millimeter. Next is the second interior column, same as the third exterior columns, third interior columns, fourth exterior columns, and always remember nga in order for us to design a column, magpili ra ta pinakadako dito na PU under sa atong i-tabulate. So be careful in tabulating kasi minsan mamislook pa ba. So that's all. Thank you. Ay, by the way, so dili na ko mag-worry about sa PU kay na-solve naman daan siya sa STAAD. So, pani siya itong inunang ko dali. Diba? Post-processing. Sa beam results, then, kung ano na siya from.
So I guess all of my other group mates have done presenting their part. So this is the conclusion of our presentation of our proposal. So